Hello everyone, this is Jackie Williams and welcome to another global video hop. In this hop, we are all featuring some type of a one-shoot wonder, and I was inspired by the very talented Ruth Trice, who does a lot of her own stamping of backgrounds and her own printed papers. And so I want to give that a try and show you just a very simple, basic way of doing it. And I'm going to be using the Cheerful Daisies, and also I'm going to work in just a little bit from the Nature's Prints, just using these two leaves basically. So I'm going to start with stamping the large daisies. Now I'm going to be doing mine on an A4 piece of cardstock. Of course, you can use whatever size cardstock works for you. And the first thing I'm going to do is just mark the halfway point, top and bottom, and then just very lightly draw a line. Then I'm going to do is the same thing from side to side, and just lightly with pencil. I can go back and erase this later. However, I have found that you can never really see it again, so it doesn't matter too much. Now you can see that I've divided it into 4 quadrants, and these are then going to make 4 different card fronts. And I'm going to start with boho blue. I'm going to stamp my daisies in the boho blue. Now, because we're using photopolymer, I'm going to put 2 of my stamp mats underneath my paper here. And I find it easiest to stamp the outline of the flower first. Now, this particular daisy does not have any sort of up and down as far as I can tell. So what I'm wanting to do is just stamping along those pencil lines and maybe just a little bit up above. So I'm just following basically the cross. Now to stamp the fill, I'm going to ink up my fill stamp, and over here on this scrap paper, I'm just going to stamp it off. I'm using the same boho blue, but stamping it much lighter. Now, as you can maybe see, I've already got a little bit of ink. I sometimes tend to get a little ink there on my pinky. I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to cover that up either with stamping or with the label when we're finished. Now, I'm going to go through and using the same boho blue. This time I'm going to use the little half daisy. Now, the first time I did this, I was quite concerned about getting the daisy to be the right way up. But in the end, I've decided that as long as they're all going kind of the same way on your project, as in not sideways and upside down, they don't all have to be exactly the same direction, then you can just create your card to be horizontal or vertical. Now I'm going to add the flower centers using crushed curry ink. Then next I want to add our leaves, and I'm going to use Old Olive and Soft Seafoam. And this is where I'll use the fern leaf and then the kind of almost wheat looking stamp from the Nature's Prints. Next I've created a mask, and these are just using the die, so you don't need to scissor cut these. And I've just cut out a few at a time. Then when you take all the masks away, you should have something that looks like this, like kind of a cross through the middle of your card. Now I like to add a bit of a bright color, and Berry Burst is a new favorite and goes quite well with the boho blue. And I'm just using a splatter stamp, and I prefer to use my splatter stamps like right in my hand so that I don't have to use the whole thing. I can just get small pieces of it. You could also use a paintbrush or a marker if you prefer to just flick your ink on. And that being said, I might just use my blend and just flick a little bit of this new pebbled path. But it's up to you how much you put on or not. Now you can also add some embossing, like heat embossing. If you want to add a bit of clear or some gold, you could use your embossing folders. You can embellish it up any way that you like. Now I have left some white space for my words. I also just like a bit of white space. And then it's just a matter of cutting this, and I'll just cut it directly in half. Now I've cut my piece into quarters, but you will probably need to trim them down to use as card fronts. So as you can see, you can turn them this way, you can turn one this way, I could do that way, and this one I could do this way. So you've got all different directions and the border going on different sides of the paper. And then you can mount those on your card front as you wish. Let me show you some finished samples. Now, before I show you a finished sample, I just want to show you another option. I've taken the old olive ink pad and just put a little color around those edges where the stamping is. I feel like that just fills it out a little bit, so that stamping looks a little more full. You also could use brown. I think I've got crumb cake on this brush, but you could use any color that's complementing just to finish off and fill out the stamping. So let me show you some finished samples. So here's two that I have finished off, and these ones I have added just a little bit of dry embossing. Hopefully you can see that. I've also stamped the outline of the flowers a second time in Versamark and added clear powder, so there is a bit of dimension there. And I did ink around the edges here and added a separate label. However, if you would like to just stamp directly into the white space, that works as well, and added those brushed brass butterflies. Those look quite nice with these beautiful daisies. And then here are two more examples. So I've just arranged them all slightly differently with that embossed piece behind, and this one I did horizontally. Also, rearranging them and adding the label is a great way to cover up any stray ink marks that you may have had. So there you go, there's my idea for a one-sheet wonder, and also a way to use your stamps in a different way. I hope you enjoyed that and enjoy the rest of your hop. This is Jackie Williams. Bye-bye.